welcome everybody to our first event out of a series of 22 events proudly sponsored by Study New South Wales over here in New South Wales in Australia. It's a beautiful project that they're doing to give back to international students in many ways. So the next 4 weeks, we are empowering international students to be more emotionally intelligent, more resilient, so that you guys can stay focused on your goal and achieve all of them. Then after that, we're going to be doing 4 sessions on employability. How can you have the entrepreneurial mindset and skills to get the dream job? And then we've got Kiki coming over from Google to do that. And then next year is a series very focused on entrepreneurship. So follow us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, both in the Study New South Wales and also the Academy Entrepreneurs page, because we're going to be sharing so much amazing information with you guys. I am so happy and I am so honored that the first of many presentations the next 4 weeks on every Tuesday for the next 4 weeks at 5:15, we're going to have the incredible Ush, who is an incredible leader in this topic, and I'm so happy to have her as a friend these days because she cares so much about empowering you guys, and she's built us with so much skill, passion, love. Sunday night, her and I were playing with slides and exchanging documents to make this be as successful as possible for you guys. So Ush, before we get started, this is the first out of many series, so I think if you could just maybe spend a couple of minutes sharing with us a little bit about your journey and how you fell into the coaching and emotional intelligence and resilience space.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Paula. So my name's Ush, everyone, and I'm an EQ expert that runs coaching and training all over Australia and across the globe. I wasn't always good at EQ. My EQ was terrible, actually, because my background is that of a lawyer. And as you know, anyone that has high IQ doesn't always have good EQ. So I really just didn't want to work for anyone. You know, you have that moment where you've got this entrepreneurial fire inside you and you want to do something else. So one day I literally quit my job, didn't have a plan, didn't know what I was going to do, came home, was watching daytime TV, and I thought, oh, I should just hire a coach to help me. And one of the modules that I was learning through my coach was EQ, and I loved it because I realized that I didn't have a lot of self-awareness around how I behave, how I manage my emotions, and since learning it, it's helped me so much, so much, and all the people around me that I work with and coach. So I set up EQ Academy, and I've been running it full-time now for 5 years, and we've worked with amazing businesses across Australia. We've worked with the Federal Police, we've worked with Ropt, with King Living, Harris Farm Markets, and it's just so exciting to see businesses and also entrepreneurs really embrace the EQ space.
Thank you, Ush. And you're very lucky because you're not only doing what you love, but you also can see everybody happier and getting to do what they love. And I think that's the beauty of the world. It's for many years, everyone looks like they were perfect human beings. If you look at like pre-social media time, 10 years ago, you turn on television and you would see a leader and you would think that they were born a leader, born successful, and they had no weaknesses. But now with social media, we're all more connected and we're able to see that all of us have strengths and weaknesses, and we should be getting better at our strengths every day. And the reality is that you can't be good at everything either. We have to be authentic leaders. So when you're saying that you didn't know much about emotional intelligence, the beauty of it is that it's one of the things that we can always get better at it. So it doesn't matter where you are in your emotional intelligence journey.
Yeah.
It's amazing where you are, because from here, you're only going up. So it's something really positive that we're working on. Yeah, and I love the topic that you guys chose for week 1, which is resilience, because that's what I see with students. Like international students, they come in with so many ideas, so much potential, so much energy. But then with the cultural differences or challenges, finding the first job or getting the first no from a boss, or maybe even losing the job, you don't know, or not getting the grade that they wanted, or realizing that, yes, Australia's amazing, but maybe you don't have mom to cook your lunch to go to university and things like that, which it sounds funny, but we've all gone through that, right? You have one expectation and something else. And for us to be resilient and build that strength within us, it's not easy. And I think everyone has their own, like everyone has like insecurities, everyone, no matter who you are as a leader, but a true resilient leader knows what they're going to get to. and they're willing to do anything to get there, no matter how many no's they get. And I think this is the value of today's first session, is just going, what is your goal? And what are the steps? I love that you put the 5 steps into it, Ush. And what are the 5 steps that you need to strengthen to be able to get them? So Ush, over to you. What is resilience? And then let me know when you want to click on the next slides, and then I'll mute myself, and then I'll let you talk from now onwards.
You're amazing. Thank you. Yeah, look, I'm really, really passionate about this topic of resilience. And, you know, I've run a couple of other sessions with Paula as well in your Pitt Street City Tattersalls Club as well. And we've run this session, and it's been really popular. And I know I've spoken to, you know, your students that are all over here, beautiful, amazing people that are almost starting from scratch, whether that's a cultural difference, whether that's a difference in background, changing careers, almost like working their way up. And I remember there was this one guy I met, and beautiful guy, and he was working in a restaurant and really pursuing his passion of wanting to become a chef and do some amazing things. And I said, so what was your background, you know, from where you came from and home? And he's like, I was a barrister. And I was like, you were what? And he's like, yes. And he goes, I was this amazingly successful lawyer. And then he goes, I've come to Australia. And he goes, it's been really difficult because I've had to literally start from scratch, know no one, build this business idea. And he goes, you know, resilience is one of the biggest things. That he goes, you can have the best idea, you can have all the support around you as well, but if your own mind isn't positive and you don't back yourself, and it's not backing yourself when things are going good, I'm talking about backing yourself when you're in the shower, your thoughts are running, you feel scared, you can't sleep at night, you know. Have you ever had that feeling of where you wake up every hour sometimes because you just can't stop your mind from racing? Like, that's me pretty much regularly when I'm trying to think of that next business idea. So that's where resilience really comes in. For all of you guys that know a little bit about resilience, you know, I think there's a lot of stuff out there in articles, in the media, that's very common. So what I wanted to do with this session is really share 5 tips that are a little bit outside of the norm, but I promise you they're going to work. And you're going to walk away going, right, I know I can do this. I know I've got some resilience in me. Okay. So we'll just go to the next slide. Thanks, Paula. So this is one of my favorite movies. I love a bit of Rocky, if anyone's watched him. And I don't know if you actually know his story, but when he was trying to become famous and become a movie star, he obviously had no money. And I don't know if you know the story, but he sold his dog, like his beloved dog, he gave up for a little bit of money to, I can't remember what the story was, but he needed it for some sort of class or some acting thing. And then when he actually became successful, he actually hunted down where his dog was and got his dog back. But if you ever look at his story personally, Sylvester Stallone's beautiful, beautiful story of resilience in itself, as well as his character of Rocky. But I just wanted to share with you this little speech that he made in this movie where he's talking to his son. So Paula, if you can play that, that would be amazing.
So, you know, living with you, it hasn't been easy. People see me, but they think of you. Now with all this going on, this is going to be worse than ever.
It don't have to be.
No, sure it does.
Why? You got a lot going on, kid.
Oh, what, my last name? That's the reason I got a decent job. That's the reason why people deal with me in the first place. Now I start to get a little ahead. I start to get a little something for myself. And this happens. Now I'm asking you as a favor not to go through with this, okay? This is only going to end up bad for you, and it's going to end up bad for me.
You think I'm hurting you?
Yeah, in a way you are.
It's the last thing I ever wanted to do.
I know that's not what you want to do, but that's just the way that it is. Don't you care what people think? Doesn't it bother you that people are making you out to be a joke and that I'm going to be included in that? Do you think that's right? Do you?
You ain't gonna believe this. But you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up to say to your mother, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew. and you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching you every day. It was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. I'm always going to love you no matter what. No matter what happens. You're my son, you're my blood. You're the best thing in my life. But until you start believing in yourself, you ain't gonna have a life. Don't forget to visit your mother.
I love him. And he's so true, right? It really is about how hard life is going to hit you. And look, yes, we can all be positive about life, but he's true. It's not all sunshine and roses all the time. And we are going to get knocked back. And sometimes it's when we least know it. And it's also just about the ability to go, okay, I've fallen. And there's this saying, right, that if you fall, like don't unpack your bags and stay there. Just go, it's okay. I can take a little bit of a rest. And I'm just going to gather myself and I am going to now go back and get out what I want. Um, so how can you develop resilience? This is one of the most, common questions that we get asked in the EQ world. And it's all about taking charge and controlling the situation that's causing stress. That's number one. These are the 5 steps we're going to go through. Number 2 is all about mastering your mindset and making a choice about how you perceive stress, whether that's uncertain or unwanted stress. Third thing we'll talk about is optimizing your strengths and also your energy to increase the likelihood of a positive outcome. Number 4 is around that social support, your network, family, friends, and what impact that can have on your resilience. And then the 5th step that I want to talk to you guys is about embracing the challenge and, really keep growing and developing. Yeah. So they're the 5 steps and we will go through them now. So taking charge, step number 1. So this step is about recognizing the role that stress plays in resilience. Okay. So I think we always go, okay, I'm not feeling resilient, things haven't gone my way, and we sort of focus on the negativity of why we have no resilience. So we focus on the act. So whether that's like, I'm not getting good grades, I'm not getting that job that I want, I'm not getting that interview I want, I'm not getting the right opportunities, I'm not networking enough, which is all fine, but we actually need to go down to the physiological aspect of what that is doing to your body. So forget the act. What is actually happening to you in terms of stress, and how do you deal with that stress? Yeah, because what happens is when we deal with stress, or we actually experience stress, our brain goes into survival mode, and it's in that classic fight or flight or freeze. Yeah, so our brain literally will do that. So if you look at some people, when they're stressed, they will not sleep. They're like on energy drinks constantly, and they're buzzed, and they're leveraging that, emotion that's going through their body and taking action. Whereas other people, sometimes you might see when they're stressed, is they sleep a lot, they slow down, they don't want to talk to anyone. So really try and understand that when you are feeling stress, what are you doing? What is your default? What does your body do? Now, the reason I want you guys to think about that is because the quicker you identify what's happening in your body, your brain will automatically say, okay, I'm stressed, I'm not feeling resilient, I need to change. Because sometimes what happens is if we don't have good EQ and we don't understand what's happening to our bodies, by the time that we acknowledge stress, things are not great for us, in our bodies. It's not a good place to be. So take charge, really understand what's happening from a stress level to your body, and then go, right, before I even fix the problem, what am I going to do about my body so that I'm rested, I'm eating well, I'm sleeping well, and then you actually have more energy to tackle the problem that is keeping you feeling less resilient. Does that all make sense? Yeah? So really identify that stress in your body. So the question you want to ask yourselves really here, and if you're going to take notes, just jot some stuff down here, is how can you reduce your perceived stress to help your brain to keep functioning optimally? So you've heard of the term burnout, right? And I've had friends that have called me and they've literally hit burnout, and I'm like, why have you hit burnout? Like, there's stages to burnout, yeah? Like, burnout's like 10 out of 10. And you can be at level number 2 or level number 3, and you've got signs. You've got signs that things aren't going well. You're feeling stressed. You're feeling burnt out. So don't wait until that big whack at the end of it where you've fallen, like Rocky, and getting punched and being KO'd. Look at the little nudges that your body's getting, throughout that spectrum of 0 to 10. And go, what can I do? So for me, for example, I know when I get stressed, my sleep is messed up. Like, it's like I can't shut my brain down from thinking to be able to sleep. So if I'm having restless nights, I can go, okay, I'm feeling stressed, my resilience is quite low right now. What can I do to get better sleep? Do I meditate? Do I eat better? Do I exercise more? What is it that I need to do? So everyone will have their own thing to identify stress and make themselves feel better, but just work out what it is for you. Definition of stress. I love this. So stress happens when the demand of the situation exceed your perceived ability to deal with it. And it's a really, really cool definition. So it's basically saying that the situation you're facing is so big that you think you're not going to be able to cope with that situation. So because you feel that you can't cope, that's when you feel stress. Simple as that. So you can actually trick your brain, believe it or not. This is a bit of a neuro hack. When you start feeling stress, I want you to say to yourself, I can control this. I can really control this situation. I've got some solutions. I'm going to map it out. I know what it is that I can do. And the more you tell your brain that, it will stop going into fight and flight. And something miraculous happens. You start actually getting solutions to your problem. It's really weird. It's almost like tricking your brain. Your brain relaxes, solutions come, and then you actually don't get any stress. So it's a really, really cool hack. Give it a go. And then step 2 is really just about mastering your mindset in here, okay? So your mindset is absolutely crucial to resilience. It's really all about our internal dialogue and the stories that we say to ourselves. And sometimes our minds go into victim mode, okay? So if we're having a really hard time and we're not feeling very resilient, to make ourselves feel better, we start creating a story in our mind and we're the victim in that story. And what that's doing is it is indirectly justifying why you feel the way that you feel, okay? So it's almost like your mind is making excuses for you to not be resilient. So what you want to do is when you find yourself in a negative mindset, one really, really cool tip is write all of that negative mindset things that you've got going on one piece of paper. So it might be words like, I'm useless, I'm not confident, I feel stressed, I can't deal with this situation, I'm not making enough money, I'm not getting enough opportunities, whatever those negative mindset steps are. For every single one, I want you to ask yourself, is there evidence that this is true? And it's such a powerful, powerful question, because what you will see is when you actually challenge these negative thoughts, there's no evidence, because your brain has tricked you into that story where you believe it's real. The problem is, because your brain's tricked you, your body doesn't understand right or wrong or real or fake, and your body will start to display symptoms as if it's like because you're worried and stressed. So always ask evidence. And I know there was a guy I was coaching, and he wrote like 15 different things on it going, I'm stupid, I've got no money, I'm going to be homeless, like all of these things that were like really causing him stress. And when we sat down and said, is there evidence of that? Do you have money in your bank account? Yes. Are you homeless? No. Like there was zero evidence that any of those things that his mind was tricking him into. And what I like to say is it's fear, right? We drop into fear when our mind is tricking us. And I don't know if you've heard of the acronym of what fear means, with FEAR. I like to say it's false evidence appearing real, because that's all it is. Your mind is just tricking you to go, this ain't real, but you start to believe it. So really catch your thoughts and challenge them. Okay. The other good question to ask when you feel these negative thoughts coming in and you've written them down on a piece of paper, say to yourself, when have I dealt with something similar before and it was actually okay? Because a lot of the time we've gone through this before, yeah? And you do deal with it, but we forget about that because our brain, in stress, our brain wants to pick out all of the bad situations and bring that to the forefront of our mind, because that's just what it does. So what we want to do is we want to go, right, what is the good in this? And I remember when I set up my business, it was really new. It was in my first 6 months. And I had about 2 clients that I was working with, and they both ended a little bit earlier than I thought they were going to end. And I didn't have any other clients in the pipeline yet because I was so busy delivering on the 2. And I was like, oh my God, like, you know, literally, I'm going to be homeless. I can't do this. I can't do that. What am I going to do? And then my friend was like, Ush, you did this like when you set your business, like you finished 2 clients and the next 2 came. Like you always say this. And honestly, I'm not kidding you. I'm in like, I think 6th year of my business, and I still feel that. Like when I lose a client, I'm like, oh my God, I've got no more work. But something always happens. So it's just a case of getting your brain to remember that in the past, it's been okay. And the other question I always say to myself, especially when you feel really stressed and not resilient, is, am I safe? A really, really simple question. And the moment you say, am I safe, your brain goes into that mode to go, well, there isn't any danger. Like I'm not being attacked by a tiger. I'm not being chased by a knife. I've got a roof over my head. I'm warm. I've got food. Like I am safe. And the moment you say that, because you have a psychological need to feel safety, your neurologically everything and your nervous system will start to calm down. Yeah. So there's loads of techniques on breathing and stuff, but just that question, am I safe, is like really, really powerful. So simple. I actually used it on my friend the other day. And it was just a really stupid thing. She was having an argument with her boyfriend, but she had a bit of a meltdown with it. It wasn't even work related. And just to shut her up, I'm like, are you safe? She's like, yes, of course I am. That was it. The tone changed. She calmed down. Her heart wasn't racing. So you can definitely use that question for any scenario. Step number 3 is optimizing your strengths, which will help you increase your energy. Okay. So we all have strengths, okay? In times of stress, we somehow get a blank and we can't remember what the hell they are, but we all have them. So whenever you have a tough situation that you're facing, what you want to do in that situation is actually go, well, what are my strengths? Yeah. And how am I going to use those strengths in this situation to lead to a positive outcome. So I've done that before. Just this week, actually, I was talking to a CEO. He's buying a new business, merging it with his, and he had a little bit of a meltdown, got really stressed about whether it was the right thing to do, last minute nerves. And I'm like, okay, forget about whether the idea is good or not. You genuinely are in that stress mode. You're not feeling resilient. What are your strengths? Out of it, he's like, oh yeah, I've bought 4 businesses before. Well, what the hell are we doing having this conversation now? Like, you've done this, you've got the strengths, you know what you're doing. But it was his mind that was tricking him with stories to say he wasn't good enough. Yeah. I'll give you a bit of an example because it's hard to understand sometimes how we can leverage strength as energy. So as an example, let's say that you are preparing to do a presentation like I am today for you guys, and you are worried about this presentation, yeah? And the thoughts that your mind is tricking you with is that no one's going to turn up, the audience will be distracted and be on their phones while I'm talking, I'm going to forget what I need to say, all of those things that we can sometimes feel, right, with a presentation. We'll just go to the next slide. Thanks, Paula. So what you can do is think about what strengths you have. So you could say, well, actually, I've got really good strengths in collaboration. I'm really good at building relationships. So I can actually ask someone, practice my presentation, and get some feedback before I actually present it, okay? You might also have a strength that is around efficiency or a strength around getting results and focusing. So that means that you could plan the presentation, go through it multiple times, and get that confidence it's going to go well. Or you could have a strength that you are empathetic, which is going to help you think about what the audience is feeling. So in any situation, just go, right, what are my strengths? And in this situation, how am I going to utilize them? Yeah. Step 4, building support. So one of the things we don't really talk about when it comes to resilience, because a lot of the focus, as you've just seen, is on your own mindset, your own voice, you know, your brain and what happens. I just really wanted to put step number 4 is it is so powerful to have people around you that support you when you are feeling stress or you don't feel that resilience around you. And it's actually scientifically proven that the social bonding, whether it's colleagues, family, friends, pets, whatever that is, it releases that hormone, which is the oxytocin, and that reduces your fear, reduces your anxiety, improves your mood. So, you know, find out who it is that you can talk to. And with this CEO guy, we went through his strengths, but the other thing that he also did was connect to other CEOs who have been through that situation before. So he could actually talk through that and get a little bit of that pep talk. I like to say, go find your cheerleaders, yeah? Like, we all have cheerleaders in our life, whether that's your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, whoever that is, and go tell them, like, say to them, hey, look, this is what I'm feeling. You know, I just need a bit of support. And you might not even need advice. Like, I always say, sometimes when I lean on my cheerleaders, I say to them, really don't need advice. I just need you to let me vent. I need you to just chat shit and be there for me, and let's go eat or drink. So just find your peer network support. It's really, really good for stress. And then step 5. So step 5 is all about embracing challenge. Okay, so when you are not feeling resilient, you're feeling stressed, you're obviously feeling that because something is going on. There's a big thing going on in your life. Reframe it and go, you know what? This is a challenge. And okay, I may not know what I'm doing. There's a bit of an unknown in that. But you know what? Unknown is actually a good thing. Like, unknown can also be excitement, or unknown can be scary. So just reframe what unknown means to you. And because I'm an EQ coach, I've got to share obviously a couple of things around emotions. But did you know that, you know, if you are scared or you are excited, your body does the same thing? I don't know if you've realized that. So think about what happens to your body when you're scared, and think about what happens to your body when you're excited. You might get butterflies in your stomach. You might, your heart might race, your breathing will change, but you can choose that emotion of what it is that you feel. So I know that I do that with my daughter all the time. So if she's scared about something or speaking in school, I'll be like, what are you feeling? And she'll be like, Mom, I've got like butterflies in my stomach. I feel nervous. I feel sick. I'm like, isn't that just excitement? Like, aren't you just like really excited to do this? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so you're not scared, are you? She goes, no. And she's like really confused by that because she's like, you're right. Everything I'm feeling is excitement. So just reframe it. Like, just say, I don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of unknown, but I am so excited by this challenge. And the moment you start saying that to yourself, your brain's going to go, okay, there's a bit of excitement here. I don't know what's going on, but I feel good. And automatically your stress levels will start to release. You guys might have heard around the difference between having a fixed mindset and having a growth mindset. So one of the best things to understand around resilience and stress is, what mindset are you in? Okay, it's a bit like what I'm saying here now is, do you choose the fear emotion or do you choose the excitement emotion? So if you have a fixed mindset, you're going to drop into fear. If you have a growth mindset, you're going to go, woohoo, this is amazing. Like, I'm really excited. So you can choose. And if there's anything you take away from this, when you're having a hard time, just say to yourself, am I in a fixed mindset or am I in a growth mindset? And identify where you sit. And if you sit in the fixed, that is totally okay. Just learn to shift from fixed into growth. And this is just a really short video for 3 minutes, just going to really explain to you what the difference between the two mindsets are, so that you can really go, okay, I know I'm a little bit on this side, but I have the ability to shift into growth. Okay, so we'll just watch this video.
Researcher and professor Carol Dweck uses the term mindset to describe the way people think about ability and talent. Dweck delineates between two different mindsets that exist on a continuum. The first is the fixed mindset, which suggests that your abilities are innate and unchangeable. The second is a growth mindset, which views it as something you can improve through practice. In a fixed mindset, you view failure as permanent, but with a growth mindset, you see failure as a chance to learn and even pivot. Those with a fixed mindset are more likely to view critical feedback as a personal attack, while those with a growth mindset will see it as a chance to improve, where they can develop new systems. With a fixed mindset, you're more likely to choose easier tasks and put in minimal effort. After all, if talent is fixed, why bother improving? Why even try? But with a growth mindset, you're more likely to embrace challenging tasks and work hard to improve. Those with a fixed mindset are likely to give up when they face an obstacle. Meanwhile, those with a growth mindset will view obstacles as a chance to experiment and solve problems. In a fixed mindset, the focus is on measurable accomplishments. But with a growth mindset, the focus is more on a journey of continual improvement. With a fixed mindset, you're less likely to take creative risks. But with a growth mindset, creative risks are simply a way to innovate and improve. Ultimately, your mindset influences everything from creative risk-taking to how you view feedback to whether or not you finish difficult tasks. And in the end, it's one of the greatest factors in determining whether or not you grow and improve in your abilities.
Thank you. So that is like a really little simple, tool to keep in check in what mindset you're in. And I know for a fact I've been not very resilient at times. And I've had to catch myself going, man, I'm so in the fixed at the moment. I've got really crappy stories in my mind. I'm in victim mode. And, you know, you beat yourself up for a bit, and then you've literally got to build that resilience, dust yourself off and go, right, what is it that I'm going to do? So before we end, I want to share with you exactly how to dust yourself off the floor when you're not resilient and start to get back up. Because it's really easy for us coaches to go, oh, you know what, pick yourself up, just bounce back, it will be okay. But sometimes that's not really easy to do when we are stuck in that situation where we're feeling that fear, yeah? So I want to give you a tool that has got 5 questions that I'm going to get you to write them down, because I haven't put them on the screen because I want you to write them down so I know you're going to use them. And I promise you this will work. Like, I've used it with my, with my daughter. I've used it in schools. CEOs use it across the globe. It is really, really powerful, and it basically gets you out of that rut that you are feeling. So I'm going to share this with you with my own personal real life experience, which is a very embarrassing one in hindsight, but I am going to share so you understand exactly how it works. So when I first set my business up, I remember telling my partner about it, and he was really stressed out, way more stressed out than I was about starting my business. Because he's someone that needs structure, the routine, the regular paycheck that comes when you have a job. And I'm a big risk taker to go, no, I'm not going to live my life like that. I want to start my own business. So I had that to factor in as well, is his own stress when I was setting my business up. And so what I did, I quit my job and I was about to start my own business, and I decided to work 3 days a week just on the side, just to have a regular income coming in to be able to pay the mortgage. And I gave myself sort of 6 months to then quit that job and 100% dive into my business with the uncertainty. So a little bit before that 6 months, I got this really cool contract, and it was a 6-month contract. And I thought, oh, great, I can quit my part-time job and just focus on this one amazing client. So I did that. So already I was quite nervous about, almost letting go of my crutch of that regular money coming in. So bear in mind, I've literally just started my business and I've got a very young child. So I got this contract. Things are going really, really well. And at month 4, almost 4, 5, the client calls me in and he's like, oh, she goes, you've done such an amazing job. Like, we love what you've done, how you've taught us about EQ, the leadership side. And he goes, but you've actually finished everything before the 6 months. So we don't really need you to be here. And I was like, what? No, in my head, I'd had like mapped out 6 months worth of work because I hadn't really started to look for anything else. So obviously, you can imagine I went into stress, fear, panic, all of that sort of stuff. And I remember driving home, and it was about dinner time, and I was like, okay, I've got to tell my partner that we have to sell our house. Like, that's where my mind went. It went from having a really happy client to I have to sell my house. Like, that is just the logical step that I went to. So I'm driving home going, oh my God, I've got to tell him I've got to sell a house. Anyway, so I come home and he's like, what's up with you? And I'm like, I've got something to tell you. And he was like, what? And I'm like, we need to sell our house. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, why? I'm like, because I've lost my client, it's finished. And he's like, all right, let's do this tool. Let's go through those questions and sort this out. So here are the questions that I asked myself and I went through. Question number 1 is, what is the worst case scenario in this situation? Okay. And for me, at that moment in time, I'll be honest, my worst case scenario was selling the house to be able to, earn a living or not be homeless. So that was my worst case scenario. So I actually wrote that down. That was my answer, okay? So whatever your answer is, however drastic it is, always write down your answer. And you can't do this in your head. You have to write it down. There's a lot of power when you read it. Second question you want to ask yourself is, what is the likelihood of that actually happening? So when I was answering this question, I thought, okay, I probably don't have to sell my house. I could probably cut my expenses first before I sell my house. right? Like I'd probably just like not buy so much shit and whatever, right? There's loads of things I probably could have done before I had to put my house up on this up for sale. So I said, okay, the probability of selling my house is probably 10%. There's loads of other things I could do. So that made me write down the answer. So I wrote down 10%. Third question you want to ask yourself is, what is the best thing that can happen with this situation? Now, this question is really powerful because it gets that awful fear out on paper with question 1 and 2. And then it shifts your mind into what? We've just learned it, into your growth mindset. Yeah, it gets you to explore. So for me, I thought, okay, what's the best thing? I thought, well, I'll have a little bit more time at home that I wasn't planning, which is great. I don't have to go to work for the next 2 months. The other good thing I thought of was I could potentially get another client that pays me even more money than the one that I'm at. So they're the 2 things I wrote down. So can you imagine automatically I feel better? I've gone from selling my house to, hey, I could get another client with more money. Pretty cool, right? Fourth question is, this is an important one. What is one step that you can take that will help you get that best outcome? What is one step you can take that will help you get that best outcome? So the reason you're asking yourself this question is it stops you being in fairyland to go, oh yeah, I can get another client, I can get more money, but it actually makes you go, right, if I want that, what action do I need to take, right, to get that next client that's going to give me more money? It's a really crucial question. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll just sit there and go, yeah, I'm sure I'll get another client. Before you know it, months have gone by and you feel crap. So I was brainstorming and I was like, okay, what can I do to get a better client? So I said, well, you know what? This client was really, really happy with my work. So I could maybe ask him if he knows anyone else that would want the same coaching. And maybe he could give me a referral. Maybe he could introduce me to people in his network. So that was one step I thought I would do. And the second step I wrote down was I would just reach out to my network and let them know I am available for work. So the next day I took action and I messaged him and I said, hey, so glad that you're really happy. Is there anyone you know that would want this? And he goes, actually, yeah, there is. There's a couple of people. So he shot off those intros and I did actually land a client within 2 weeks that paid me more for another 6 months. So it was a great, great outcome from having that fear of selling my house to then within a few days celebrating my next new client. Yeah. And then the last question I want you to ask is, what are you going to do regularly to work towards your goal? So the reason for that last question is you don't want to get complacent. Yeah. And that was one of the things in business that I found. It wasn't that I was complacent, but I found that I was so focused on delivery of my work that I almost forgot that when that finishes, I have to do marketing, I have to do other things, I have to talk to people, I have to network more. I can't just, dive everything of myself into that one client and not look up and go, well, what else is happening around me? So that question really made me reassess pretty much how I run my business. It was a really powerful question to go, these are some of the things I need to do in my business to become better so that I don't fall into this situation again. So they're the 5 questions. They work in any scenario. That was just my scenario that was pretty stressful, but it works. It works for anything. So next time you're feeling that anxiousness, I really do want you to just go through these 5 questions, write it down. It can even be like, if there's jobs you're applying for and you're getting rejected, you can use it for that. You can use it for literally any situation you're going through. And like I said, the power of it is you think of the worst case, so you've got it out of your head, right? It's not affecting you when you go to bed at night at 3 a.m. because you've actually out loud spoken what the worst thing that can happen is. And then you test that, you measure that, and you go, actually, it's not going to happen. Then you look at the best thing that can happen that really excites you and puts you into your growth mindset. And then you talk about action, because action as entrepreneurs is crucial. We have to go, right, what steps are we going to take? Even if it's just one step. What is that one step that's going to make us feel more resilient through what we're going? Yeah. Thank Thank you, Paula. Question time, if anyone's got any questions.
Hi, Paula. Hi, everyone. I'd like to ask a question.
Nice to see you again. I hadn't seen you for a few weeks. Where have you been?
I got really sick. Me and my wife and kids, we all got COVID, man. We were out of action for weeks. Yeah, I'm from one of the hotspots, so we're out in the Bankstown area. I'm not quite sure if you guys are aware, but Bankstown copped it really hard.
Biggest hotspots, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we're all good now, and I've been officially back in action as of last Monday.
Oh, good. Welcome back. Good to
Thank
see you back, smiling strong again. Welcome back to the world.
Yeah, it's great to be back, and what a way to come back. This has been one of your best episodes so far. Like, all your series are great, but this in particular for me, I love, and it's so coincidental for me because is it Ush? Sorry, I've lost your name on the screen.
Yes.
Yes. I've actually just I've almost finished reading. Jesus, what's his name? I have to Travis Bradbury.
Oh, Travis Bradbury.
Yeah. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I'm not quite sure if there was one before that or not. I don't know. Yeah, so I've almost finished that, and that is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. And then when I saw Paula's email coming out with about today's discussion, I went, oh, this is just meant to be. I gotta be there. Absolutely. And everything you've just said, resonates really well with that. And I just wanted to ask you, I kind of missed a little bit in your introduction about sort of how long you've been doing this for.
Yeah.
Are you from Sydney?
Yeah, well, I was born in London originally. And but I've been in Sydney now for about 16 years. And I was a lawyer and barrister that had zero EQ. But I've been running EQ Academy, which is my business now, for about 6 years full time.
Wow, very long time. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what's your take on this book?
I think it's great. I really like it. I mean, Daniel Goleman is the other person that does EQ. He's the one that coined the term, but his is a bit scientific, and I find Travis is a little bit more human. So you can really relate to it. I struggle to read Daniel's stuff, but Travis's stuff's amazing. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I really love that. And I'd like to link up with you and introduce you to my network of friends. I've got many friends that are looking for coaching and these kinds of things as well. I'm new to Sydney. I'm originally from Melbourne. I'm born and raised there. I'm from a Lebanese background.
Yeah.
And I've been an entrepreneur now for 10 years, but it's only been the last 3 or 4 years that I've been going this serious. I'm 41 years old. I have 4 kids. So the pressure is on for me to deliver. I just sold a business just prior to the pandemic in July. And I got almost $1 million for this business, something that we paid 100 grand for 6 years ago. So my wife and I and our staff and our team, we really turned it around and turned it to a real powerhouse. And now I'm in other things, and I still got I'm in sales predominantly, and I sell a lot of stuff. Emotional intelligence is really important. And one thing that Travis said is, get the person with the highest IQ and get the person with the highest EQ.
Yeah.
And the one with the EQ, the one with the higher emotional intelligence,
will be more successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
But you know why? Because it's your ability to connect. It's your ability to talk to people, to build relationships.
Absolutely.
And if you look at the most famous people, or even the most successful people, they will have failed loads, but they've had resilience to get back, or they wouldn't have gone to school even, or they've had really, really bad grades. And I've got to share this quick story with you. Thomas Edison, the light bulb guy, the one who invented our light bulb. So when he was young, his mum had got a letter from the school, and he'd got kicked out of school because he was told he was stupid and dumb.
Yeah.
So he got kicked out, and his mum didn't know how to tell Thomas. So she came home, and she had beautiful EQ and empathy, and she said, "Son, you are so amazing, like you are so talented that the school can't even handle your brightness. So I'm going to teach you, because the school is just like, you're amazing, we can't teach you anymore." So she nurtured him and she grew him, and he obviously, after many attempts, created light for us. As he was older, he was cleaning out his attic and he saw the letter, And he opened the letter and he read the letter that was addressed to his mum that said he was stupid. And he's like, do you know what? He said, I could have heard this or read this letter and I would not have invented light. But I had my mum who just said, nah, I'm going to force this belief into you that you are so powerful. And that is the trajectory of his life, right? And you know, you got 4 kids, you'll know, but what we tell our kids will really build their resilience. Now it's all about their mindset. So tell them they can be anything, tell them they can do anything, and just constantly reinforce those phrases to them. But I love that story of Thomas Edison. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Today I was reading a book that had a lot about Thomas Edison. Well, it's funny that you mentioned. Do you know Napoleon Hill?
Yeah, I'm actually Think and Grow Rich's accredited trainer. So we have to talk. Yeah.
This is my baby. This is my baby. This changed my life. This is my 3rd read. Last week I felt like enthusiasm for me was going to be my hottest topic for the week. I need to be really enthusiastic. You know, what are you going to do? And so I read that chapter. So that's what I do now. I go back to the lessons where I feel like I need them at that time, you know? And I actually just signed up with these guys. Have you guys heard of Gino Hickman and Traction and EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system? So these guys have got like implementers here in Australia, and they push this book by this American author, and it's called Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business and Don't Let It Get a Grip on You. So it's really cool. So I'm into that as well. But yeah, I'd love to link up with you guys.
We'll have to connect, 100%.
Absolutely. And I love, like, and also, Paul, I wanted to mention this to you one time. I had this written down a few weeks ago, or no, probably about a month ago, maybe 2. There was another person that I met in the group. Well, I was introduced to in the group, and I loved what she was about. And I believe she was into neurology and neuroscience and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Is that someone that was running a masterclass at Academy of Entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So you were running it that day. Anyway, the point is, like, I really liked what she was about, and I would have loved to have seen.
Was it maybe Carrie Phipps, the author?
I'm not sure, but what I'm saying is, why don't we display people?
There's also Dinny that is an expert in NRL, but she doesn't do online. She does face-to-face events for us. If you can remember more or less, because 4 weeks ago, maybe, Kiara, can you go back through the back end of our events, like through Eventbrite, and see what we can find on a coach? Yeah, because we've got a lot of experts. So Adela also talks about it, but yeah, if you can find out for me.
All right. She was in cognitive stuff. Cognitive.
Yeah, so it's a topic that we've got a lot of, because it's just so important for entrepreneurship. So it's a topic that we bring a lot.
It wasn't that important. I don't really it's not a matter of, my point is that I would have loved to have seen where I could connect with her on your screen. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so it's up to people's discretion, you know, like for me, I'd love to put my LinkedIn up there, even my email address, man. I'll even give my mobile number.
Put it here. You know, and then I'll give you Kiara's email.
Share with us, yes.
So I've just put here Kiara's email. Just send her an email and you guys can book in a phone call, and then you can figure out who is the speaker that you want to speak to. And then if you want to put in your chat box, your LinkedIn, Ush can connect with you guys. And Ush, if you want to put your email in for everybody as well. Yeah,
sure. All right.
Then you guys think, because that's the whole point of this. It's not just to learn, but to put it in action and collaborate. And I love what you were saying on point 4, Ush, around like, when you connect with others, there's so many benefits, like in your mental health and your happiness and your motivation, like there's endless benefits when you are connected with others. So yes, and I love what you're also talking about, like the power of the brain, because we can, if we stop and we analyze our thoughts, the reality is that we can achieve anything.
You can.
And I loved what you taught in a session that I wasn't there at the campus, but I've been teaching everybody about it. How when you have anxiety and you're stressed, if you stop making a list of everything you're grateful for, your brain can't focus on the stressful moments and automatically become positive, which is the topic of next week, isn't it? Next week we're talking about gratitude, which is
talking about gratitude, because your brain can't feel fear and gratitude at the same time. So it's literally neurologically impossible. So it's just a really cool brain hack is, you know, just start talking about gratitude. But we've got an amazing session on gratitude. I think it's week 3 actually, Paula, because I developed it last night, so it's fresh in my mind. But the gratitude session is going to be freaking amazing with an amazing TED talk that we're going to watch as well. So please make sure you are there for that. Actually, be here for all the next 3 sessions.
Yes. Well, you guys are, everyone that signed up today is on our newsletter, so you guys will be receiving alerts and reminders. And then we are also recording, so you can check it out on Facebook and also YouTube, and you guys can please reshare it with all of your friends. Save it in your computer, rewatch it, share it with your team as well. As we're talking, Ush, we need to do some more sessions with you and our team as well, not just...
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so much. Like, I work with so many coaches, and I find that every minute I spend with a coach, like, I can't even measure how much I grow as a person and the goals that you're able to achieve. Like, we can achieve so much more if we're working with coaches. And that's why coaches exist, because our brains limit us.
That's
it's
right.
Crazy.
Even I have a coach. I've got 2 coaches at any one moment in my life, like amazing coaches. I've got one for business and I've got one for my mind, because as coaches, we need to continually develop ourselves as well. So
yeah, I've also this year started using a lot of coaches like for energy as well, like the Reiki and meditation, and then you've got your yogi coach, and it's so powerful. So good. So thanks, guys, and thank you, Kiara, for organizing today. Thank you, Ush.
You're my best coach here.
See you guys on Tuesday next week.
Yes, see you next week. Bye, Erica. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.